going on, guys? Welcome back to Garage 23. And if you think I'm wearing the same clothes from the last video, I will neither confirm nor deny that. But today we are continuing on our S14 not a drift car build, and we're doing the motor mounts because we still have some weird shuddering, clunking noises going on. In one of the previous videos, we replaced our diff, and that helped a lot. And now we have VLSD, but it just still feels kind of floppy. So we're gonna try some polyurethane motor mounts and hope we don't regret that. So let's get started. All right, so to replace our wobbly rubber mounts that are pretty worn out, we got some fancy polyurethane mounts. And believe it or not, Amazon sells these, and we got these with 2-day shipping or 1-day shipping. These, I don't know if this is gonna work out. I'm kind of regretting this already because these, for being polyurethane, these are really damn stiff. Like, this might as well just be a chunk of plastic. I'm scared this is just gonna rattle the whole car around. One thing I did on my first S14 was I used something similar to this, but I don't think it was this stiff. I replaced the transmission mount because the transmission mount tends to be the weakest one because there's only like a small strip of like rubber in there in the first place. And I replaced that with a polyurethane mount and left the stock motor mounts. And that was enough to get rid of most of the slop, but not make it super uncomfortable to daily. So I think that's what we're gonna try today, is just install this guy by itself and see if that fixes most of our drivability issues, or install all of them and just hope it's not super rattly. Which, I mean, I'm pretty sure it will be. I mean, yeah, these are, I don't care what that listing says. This is not polyurethane. This is just a chunk of plastic, dude. This is, I don't know. But let's get started. All right, so we got the transmission supported by the jack. And first thing we need to do is get this exhaust bracket off of here. And that's a 12 mil socket. Now we can detach the motor mount from the transmission. All right, so that's the two 14 mil nuts for the transmission mount itself. Now we can take off the cross member, and one of these bolts is already missing, so that's not helping. And the other bolt over here is the wrong size, so I'm hoping this isn't just jammed in there. I think it might be all right. Now the other two bolts are supposed to be 17s, like this. Okay. All right, so first thing I noticed is that this mount's been replaced somewhat recently. It's got a new label on it, but even still, I mean, look how easy that is to flex. And like I said, it's got like very minimal amount of rubber in there holding it together. So if this is what 2 ginger power does to the mount, what is the 140 horsepower gonna do? So yeah, let's get this sucker off. And this one is gonna go in its place. Yeah, I'm reusing the ugly, dirty nuts because these are not metric. They're like 13 or something. And we're gonna need a Allen socket for that side. So we're gonna hold that side and crank that down. Now the other one. Okay. I would like to use a the factory bolts for these ones, because they have like a square back end, I guess, that like locks into the transmission, but I don't know if they're gonna be long enough to reach all the way through this thing. Actually, I think we can just take one out and check. All right, so here's the factory bolt. This part's what locks into the transmission housing, but that is significantly too short. So that kind of sucks. We're gonna have to use these, and then I'm gonna have to hold it with the Allen key again. Yeah, hopefully this reaches in there. All right, so we need to get these factory bolts out of here since they weren't long enough. And get these Allen bolts in there that are too long to even fit in the transmission. What the hell? Okay. How the heck did I get this in here? That's not even going to work because this Allen key doesn't fit in here with it. Okay, this is going to be significantly more annoying because now we have to put these in through the bottom and hold the nut on top with the wrench. Oh yeah. Also got some new bolts because most of these were pretty chewed up. Especially that one, which is probably why I didn't have a bolt in it. Alright, well, I figured this wasn't going to be that easy. So most of these threads are pretty chewed up, as evidenced by the bolts that we took out. So I'm going to have to try and at least try to clean the threads out. This should be the right size tap. All right, that was tons of fun, but threads should be good now. All right, so we finished up the transmission mount, give it a little test drive, and it still has that annoying shudder between gears when you clutch in. So it's gotta be the motor mounts at this point. I don't know what else that would be unless it's like the clutch itself, which I'm really hoping that's not the case because I do not want to drop this transmission because that'd be really annoying and I don't want to do that. So we're gonna try these motor mounts, which I don't want to do either because this is just a hard chunk of plastic, but we already bought them, they're here. And it'll at least let us test if that is what's causing the issue or not. So hopefully these motor mounts aren't too much of a pain in the ass. So let's get started. All right, so each motor mount's got 2 bolts, one on top, one on the bottom, and they're 14s. I thought that wasn't seized on or anything. One, 2. That one's kind of a pain in the ass, so you gotta be patient with that one. There's not a lot of room to move the wrench back and forth, but it's doable. If you really have trouble, you might make it easier by getting the oil filter out of the way, but we're able to do it, so it shouldn't be too bad. 3, 4.
The number of the day is 4. Then we need to lift the engine, and I'm gonna try to do it from the oil pan, but you don't want to do this just with the jack, so I got a piece of wood under there. Okay, so we don't have enough room to move the engine up enough to get the mounts out because the studs on them are too long. So what I opted to do on this side is to take the bracket off the block, and luckily that's just 4 14 mil bolts that hold it on, and none of them gave me too much trouble.
Yo, it's like a profile of a head. Like that's the neck, the head, almost the nose. Does that not look like someone's profile?
Huh. So anyway, these don't feel that bad. They're definitely not in 2 pieces, for one. Okay. Getting a little more concerned. So now with all that stuff out of the way, I'm hoping I can like move the engine this way a bit to get the other side out, because I don't think I can get to the bolts for the bracket on that side because there's way more junk in the way. There we are. Okay, that's 2. Again, it doesn't feel bad. It's definitely gross and covered in oil, but I've seen worse. Okay, so I left the bolt in here in place, and it's pretty tricky to get both hands in here to hold everything from falling apart, but if you leave the bolt in there, I dropped the engine so that the bolt reaches just barely to the subframe. So now that I have the washers and everything centered, it should hold it pretty much in place. I think we can drop it and do the other side. All right, now we're ready for our driver's side mount. This should be way easier than that other side, but it was doable, so can't complain, I guess. Wow, I lowered it just perfectly enough to fit the mount in there. Look at this. Look at it. Like, it is the precise height to fit that mount with the washers. Okay, that went relatively smoothly. No big issues or strip bolts, or I shouldn't jinx ourselves just yet. But yeah, we got them in, they're tightened up. Now we just gotta drop the car and go take it for a test drive and see if that annoying shuttering is still there, which with our luck it probably still is, and now I don't know what else it could be. So let's go get cleaned up and take it for a test drive. All right, well, I don't know if you guys can hear us because it's so damn loud in here now. But it still has that weird shutter that I'm trying to get rid of. I don't know what the hell that is now. We got rid of a lot of clunking and other stuff, but now it's like way noisier. Once it warmed up a bit, the idle is a little better, but yeah, this is not what I was going for as far as like daily drivability. Well, that was was a huge waste of time. Yeah, the car is just 100 times worse. Do not buy these unless you have a completely stripped out cage dedicated drift car slash race car, time attack, whatever you do. Do not buy those. Like I suspected, they're just basically solid chunks of plastic. They do not insulate anything and transmit all the engine's vibrations all over the damn car and make everything rattle. That's really annoying. What's more annoying is I'm gonna have to undo all this now. So not super happy about that. Also not super happy that we still have that weird shuddering vibration between shifts. So exhaust hangers, I guess, is my last guess. I don't even know at this point. Ugh. Get a 240, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Great. I was actually expecting the stock mounts to be in a lot worse shape, and they were perfectly fine. Like, I imagine they were replaced at some point too. So I'm probably just gonna put those back in here, because those with the combination of the solid transmission mount, that still had a very slight vibration, but it still felt normal, you know, it's still something you could daily. So I'm probably gonna go with that combo, because the factory transmission mount, that one is just super floppy and just not holding anything in place. So I think we're gonna go with that combo. This is the stock front mounts and the solid transmission mount. And I guess I'm gonna try to replace the exhaust hangers, or I don't know. Kind of wanna say it's the clutch, but that doesn't really make sense either. It feels, and by the evidence that we see under the car, the fact that like some of the bracing between the block and transmission is missing, and also the car is 400 something thousand miles. So the car has to have had clutch at some point. It seems like it was relatively recent, because it's kind of clean under there as far as the transmission goes. So that's probably a relatively new clutch, unless they didn't like resurface the flywheel when they did it or something. I don't know what else could be causing that shudder. If you guys have any ideas, put them down in the comments, because yeah, I'm all out. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'll see you guys in the next episode, where we will probably be doing suspension. So yeah, stay tuned for that. See you guys.